Yes, welcome to the No State Project, live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. Glad to be with everybody here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM, and also streaming live on my YouTube channel, which is No State Project. If you want to join me on the big broadcast today, you may do so, as always, by calling 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. And got to give props where it's due here. You know, I can't say enough. I really do appreciate Bill and Dan in New Hampshire for the support of the show. You know, regular support. It means a lot, and it really does help keep the show going. I do appreciate that. So I wish there was still a Twin Mountain Country store that we could promote to go give Bill some love and support for standing up to the people, these criminals, these bureaucrats in New Hampshire. But at least I can thank him publicly for that. And if there's anybody who actually is New Hampshire, that is whether they're a free state or not, we're looking to do some maybe in get some that may be interested in running. I can't believe that I'm the one saying this, but maybe an interest in running, at least on the platform, at least, to get rid of, and I'll talk more about this later, but to actually do something to bring about some meaningful change if you're going to run and get in there. Because the services are fine, the infrastructure's needs work, but, nobody wants to throw that out. But it's just a matter of being able to go in there and do some influence and start recommending, getting rid of the harsh penalties, the compulsory support, because what we talk about here is 3 hours of Anarchy radio. And so that is an absence of rulers, not an absence of rules. And so we want the principle of do no harm to be applied to everybody. And that should obviously apply to those who call themselves government, that as they operate now, by forcing everyone to give them money, that makes them a criminal organization. So we want to stop that. So imagine somebody actually getting into the media, and if anywhere, I would imagine it would be first, it would probably be New Hampshire, talking about putting forth bills, pushing for eliminating the compulsory payment. Wow. That, yeah. And not just that. How about actually getting in and putting forth, legislation stripping prosecutors and judges of their immunity? Yeah, I know a judge may just declare that unconstitutional or wrong, but it's still just a push to do that, get people to realize just how much power these people have. Like the William Higgins I reported on last week, the raping prosecutor in Bedford, Pennsylvania, who got no jail time. Serial rapist. Yeah. It's a regular part of his job. Rape. No time. So that's what I'd like to see. I would like to discuss what I think is a complete waste of time. And, and just to let everybody know, I do 4 hours here on the show, or 4 hours throughout the week. Wednesday, the commercial-free broadcast, and then we do 3 hours here on the LRN broadcast. So please keep that in mind when we go to break every quarter of the hour. I have no problem with dissent and discussing. I have a history, where I can show where dissent is welcome on the show. Of course, I'm not going to ever bend over backwards like I did for a lawyer, where I won't use the mute button. I use the mute button because somebody is talking over me, so that you can have a rational discussion without being interrupted. Sometimes you gotta hit the mute button because the other individual's only interested in hearing himself talk and derailing your thought process. So it's a stupid lawyer trick, and that's what we use. We've got a tool there to keep. So dissent is welcome. I want to let everyone know again, I don't respond to messages on Facebook. If you want to message me, you could leave a comment, and then I might respond to email or something like that. I don't use Messenger on Facebook. It's flooded with trolls. So you can always email me off the website. I'm pretty accessible. I'm not going to engage people on Facebook. And the reason, or YouTube. And the reason for that is it is almost impossible to have a rational discussion on Facebook. I've not seen it. YouTube is legendary for trolling. We know you're just not going to accomplish anything on YouTube. YouTube is fine for as a platform. Here you can call into the show. But as far as a rational discussion in the comment section, no, that is a vast wasteland. Facebook is just as bad. I sometimes will get tagged in things and I'll check it out. Robbie, bless his heart, nice guy. I just think, like, Paisan, you're wasting all this time. You cannot have a rational discussion on Facebook, and that's just the way it is. No one, even if they call themselves an anarchist, even prominent anarchist, as some you will find out, if it is on Facebook, you will not have a rational discussion. So I've got the show. I'm happy to have a rational discussion here on the broadcast. So you just have to call into the show. But we have to have a rational discussion. If you disagree with the facts, show where they're wrong, or show where there's contrary facts. And we can have an actual argument in the intellectual sense of the word, the way the Greeks envisioned it. So I want to also thank for the support of the show, Eyal, who's a big influence on me. He used to do No State Project Israel. He tagged me in something today, had to do with veganism. It was a train wreck, almost from the first time he posted. And I think it's all right. Engage someone along the way, but my gosh, once you see all the anti stuff, once you see all the inconsistent logic that's being thrown at you, you gotta bail on the conversation, mate. At least that's the way I look at it. So Eyal posted a really funny cartoon. I commented on the cartoon. I won't make a comment either way regarding what the context of the thread was, because I don't know if you can find by looking at my comments on Facebook, if you can find that thread. It is a prime example of gross inconsistency, even with those who proclaim to be voluntarists and anarchist. So anarchists are not immune from that. They may see through the BS and the propaganda as far as government being a necessary evil, and being that government, these men and women have a moral right to do immoral things. They see through that. But when it comes to other subjects, not so much. And so it happened to be, Eyal had brought up veganism. And Eyal, of course, 3 years ago, was the one that came on the broadcast and set me straight, so that he pointed out a clear contradiction. And I was already kind of aware of it, but he pointed out a clear contradiction in between my beliefs and my actions. And I had to, because the principle is more important to me, and being logically and ethically consistent, I had to change my behavior, and I did that for the better. I would just say it's fine, bring up veganism or anarchy, but just be prepared to be pigpiled on by people who are, at least as far as veganism or anarchy is concerned, they are completely irrational about that. So the idea of do no harm, the idea of being logically consistent, the idea of being ethically or morally consistent, even for self-proclaimed anarchists, they have no interest in being logically consistent when it comes to their diet. Even if you take out the ethical component as far as the animals, the fact that eating meat and dairy has a devastating effect on your health, that you're damaging your own health. These same people may actually look down on people who smoke for engaging in self-destructive behavior, and then go have a steak, and then have something loaded with butter, or something with eggs that is demonstrably, in the science, it is horrible to your health, but they'll do it anyway. Anyway, we're taking calls at 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 and the #, and we'll be back with your calls in just a moment. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, and streaming live from my YouTube channel, No State Project, where you can join the big show here. 3 hours of anarchy radio on LRN.FM. Anarchy meaning an absence of rulers, not an absence of rules. What you have now is where the rules apply to some but don't apply to all. We would like to see logical and ethical and moral consistency that the rule of do no harm, okay, applies to everybody. Everybody. And I had a sergeant in the Army who would, this was so odd to see a military guy say, la-da-da-da, everybody. Okay, and I gotta address this. Why in the hell would someone still think that the G behind me has anything to do with masonry? First of all, it's not in a compass and square. That's a pretty big giveaway there. How many times you just see a G? It's in a compass and square. Second, this is HD video. I'm going to move out of the way just a little bit there. You can actually see that there are flowers on that. Okay? It's kind of girly. How many times have you seen the G outside of the compass and square covered in flowers? And oh, that must be a Mason symbol. Oh my gosh. Really? Look, Alex Jones' show should be dead at this point. Not that everyone is a Mason, and not every Mason is a bad guy, and not everything is a gosh darn conspiracy theory. And this idea, I love how someone put out that what's being done to Alex Jones is actually an Alex Jones false flag, that he took his own channels down, that everyone complaining about it are crisis actors. None of it's real. It's all a false flag, so that he can push his narrative that he's being that he's this government, anti-government warrior, and he's being silenced. That, I think that's a great explanation for that. But yes, the G is, my wife's name is Gina. And so if you see in the background, there's a damn wedding picture next to it. So, this stuff, my gosh, use some critical thought, people. I thought by the time people made it to this channel that they were already there, but, we have to still work on that. Okay. Wow. It's just like, it's similar, I think, in that people think that just because Slayer, a band like Slayer, will sing about, let's say, Hitler, that they're pro-Hitler. Oh my gosh, they sing, there's a song, Angel of Death, which, by the way, if you haven't heard it yet, you gotta, the whole Rain and Blood album is a fantastic album. But just because someone sings or writes or talks about something doesn't mean that they are promoting it or they actually agree with that. So it's just like saying, it's like thinking that what is it? The History Channel is pro-Nazi because every other show is about World War II. Yeah, Slayer, of course. Yeah, I tell you, there's no shortage of people who lack or don't engage critical thinking skills, especially on Facebook and YouTube. So, and that's, and I don't post on Reddit anymore because I was doing it for promotion, of course, and then I started actually answering some of the comments, and whoa, once again, it's like a YouTube comment. I can actually post documented proof. I can show the actual evidence, direct evidence of what we do here on the show and success on a traffic ticket or a drug case, something like with Joe, who used to be in Hawaii. Actual evidence. This doesn't mean anything to people on Reddit. Well, at least a good majority of them. They just don't give a damn. And people on Reddit, a lot of them like to pigpile and correctly point out that people who got on the Trump train, Trump supporters, don't give a damn about the truth. Truth is not the truth, right? Or it could be someone else or alternative facts. But a lot of Reddit still, especially if they're supposed to be an anarchist or a voluntarist subreddit, and they still will ignore the evidence. They act just like Trump supporters. Evidence doesn't mean jack. That means nothing. Nothing. So it's just like with certain critics. Mark has had zero success in court. Zero. Not one time has the motion been granted. Well, here are a few occasions where the judge has. Nope, doesn't count. The judge was just pissed off at the prosecutor. Yeah, but you said it's never been successful. Oh, no. So, you know, whether it comes to the Mason, engage some critical thought. Look at the evidence that's before you. Look at that. And would anyone think for a second that the Masons are directing the show and the content on this show? Have you seen the number of views that I get per show as compared to someone like Alex Jones? I think it's fairly clear to everybody who's been listening to this show and watching this broadcast for any amount of time, this is not a populist network or show. I do not get on the show to say things just so that people will send me donations. It's pretty obvious. It's very obvious that this is a shoestring budget. Thank goodness for people like my paisan up in New Hampshire, Bill, and others who do show support to the show. Because if you think that the Masons or that I'm somehow controlled opposition, again, you're not looking at the evidence. I don't have 500,000 subscribers or more. I don't have a constant donation stream. I don't have a multi-million or even a $500,000 studio. I don't have a staff. Oh, yeah, you got to look at things critically. You got to look for logical consistency. The one has to follow. Do the actions follow the principle? And that's why it is such a sore subject when you talk about veganism, because you're pointing out a logical and moral inconsistency. And yet people can turn around and say, well, everyone's morality. You can't push morality on people. Really? If your morality is to kill and eat me, I certainly can use force to stop you. Okay, so this idea that don't push your morality on me, you hear that from people who are self-proclaimed anarchists, who want people called government to stop stealing from them. Well, it's no wonder you get met with laughter with the taxation is theft. You're not consistent in your moral principles. Oh, it's okay. See, that it all comes down to it's okay to torture animals because you want to eat them. That's okay. It's okay to kill animals even though it's killing more people. That is the cause of the top leading causes of death, directly related to eating animals. I mean, directly caused by eating animals. This idea, well, it doesn't hurt anybody. Let me tell you something. I'm paying more in insurance because people eat animals, and that causes obesity. So my insurance and other people's insurance rates, even though my heart rate is under 60, well under 60, my blood pressure is perfect. I have extremely low cholesterol. I have the lowest risk of all-cause mortality. I have to pay more because of the way other people eat because they're in the insurance pool. But we'll get to this and more in just a few minutes. So don't go away. We'll be back. And the number is 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on the Liberty Radio Network and streaming live on my YouTube channel, where we're getting a lot of comments as usual, which is really cool. If you want to join me on a big show, it's 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399, and it is the passcode is 2020 with the hashtag. So remember the 2020 with the hashtag, but you should get prompted to put that in. I got calls for years without doing that, so I don't think it's changed. Somebody is saying that something about, I do have a picture of a wedding picture, and on the other side of it, there is a picture of me as a child. Well, I consider that anyway. Yes, I have said on the show many, many times that I was in the United States Army a long time ago. I went in when I was 17, and so I have been out for a long time, over 20-something years. So why I wouldn't be an anarchist, people do change. I used to eat meat, and now I realize that that's grossly inconsistent with my moral and ethical principles, and I changed my behavior. So people learn. I wasn't always an anarchist, so I had to learn. So hey, I had different prospects for life. I wanted to do different things, and things happen, things change. So you learn, and you're supposed to learn. If you're thinking the same, if your thought process and your goals and your principles are the same at 45 as they were when you were 17, gosh, unless you are raised by stellar parents, even then, things you change, you mature. You're still a child at 17. So I don't know how that's an issue. And I got to tell you, all this crap about saying I belong to PETA, meaning people eating tasty animals, that is just a kind of a dickish move. And it's no different than when we as anarchists hear this, if you don't like America, get the hell out. It's the same kind of thing. Or they say, oh, why don't you enjoy your prison cell if you think taxation is theft? Yeah, that'd be great. Enjoy the gang rape in prison when Sessions gets done with you. Crap like that. If you don't like it, get the hell out of here. Look, if you have an argument, present it. I don't expect it here, but you can call the show and I'm happy to talk about it. If somebody has a rational argument for eating animals, I'm all for hearing it. I'm all for it. But taste? What? Because you might step on an ant when you walk outside, it's okay to slit an animal's throat? You freaking vegans! You're gonna drive your car and you're gonna hit mosquitoes! Oh, so it's then okay to slit an animal's throat when I don't need to, when I can have all my nutrition met by not killing something, or not torturing and killing something. It all boils down to this. Every single one of you out there who attack the vegan philosophy and principle, all you're doing to anybody with half a brain in their head is telling everybody how much you enjoy and want to partake and support animal cruelty. That's all it is. And you could turn around and you can say, but they're killed humanely. Abba fungul. That's not that. The ultimate cruelty is to take the life of something that wants to live, deliberately doing so when it's not necessary. We're not talking about self-defense of force, and how any self-respecting anarchist or voluntarist can say that offensive force instead of is morally justified. Where I always thought it was, well, and I've said consistently, well, self-defensive force is morally justified. It always is. Oh, but it's okay to use offensive force against an animal. And don't hit me where I've already seen this. Don't hit me with this crap when I can have a rational discussion. That doesn't hold any water. You're not going to kill somebody because you can't. You're going to kill a Trump supporter and eat them because you can't have a rational discourse with them? You're going to kill and eat one of the libtards because you can't have a rational discourse with them? I have a child with Down syndrome. I can't have a rational discussion with her. Is it then okay to abuse her? She has less moral value? There's actually a vegan, very popular vegan activist that actually said that people with Down syndrome have less moral value. And all I can say to that is, yeah, right. Sure. Anyway, let's get to the phones. Before I do that, you see that? Didn't drive any of the audience away talking about veganism. And really, what veganism is just it's the same principle extended, the same moral principle really for anarchy. Why you're an anarchist? Aggression is wrong, except when it's my dinner. Except when it's my taste. And so somebody, I gotta address this, I'm sorry. Somebody is shocked that as an anarchist, I would be a vegan. Well, it really is the other way around. It's really shocking that somebody can be an anarchist and not be a vegan. The idea that you can support exploitation as an anarchist and make an excuse, well, it tastes good. That's your argument? That's your argument for animal cruelty. All right. All right. And yes, whoever posted it, you're dead wrong about the cholesterol. And so if you look at the test that was done that was showing that, and I don't have it off the top of my head, when they did some recent studies on cholesterol, and if in eating cholesterol, particularly eggs, raised your cholesterol significantly, and the study showed that it did not, what they didn't tell you is that they took people with already sky-high cholesterol. And once you get to a certain saturation level, a certain level of cholesterol, in eating more dietary cholesterol will not significantly increase your cholesterol level. But if you take a vegan like Eyal, who does not eat cholesterol and probably has a cholesterol like mine about 140 or 130, if we sit down and for a week or two start eating saturated fat and cholesterol, we're going to spike. So it's dishonesty in the way the experiment was carried out. And look at the average American eating. The average American diet consists of loads of processed food and loads of meat and dairy, meat, eggs, and dairy. And they're all, the majority of Americans are overweight. The majority of people eating meat and eggs are overweight, which then causes a lot of problem, which is why I have to pay more in insurance payments, because they raise the risk of the entire pool. So, all right. I addressed that. Let's get to some calls and maybe we'll address some more later. But we've got Tony in Allentown. Welcome to the big show. Hey, old Tony. Okay. Maybe, all right, we'll have to mute Tony up. Don't get what the problem is there. But if you want to join the big show, 218-632-9399. And really what it comes down to first principles. So, we on this show, in this network, we can all laugh at people like Sean Hannity when he talks about first principles. We laugh. Why do we laugh? Because there's no way that anybody with two brain cells could look and listen to Sean Hannity and what he does day in and day out, what he has said, and listen to him seriously that he has first principles. His principle is money. Money, 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 money. And in more money. He will say whatever is necessary to continue getting that money. So, just like some prominent anarchists. First principles. What are your principles as an anarchist? Why are you an anarchist? Why do you identify as a voluntarist? Why? It's probably the principle. Hopefully there's a principle there, that you're trying to be consistent with the principle. Well, we'll be back with your calls. And after this, see if we get Tony on the line. So don't go away. It's 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM, and streaming live on my YouTube channel, where nothing brings out the vegan trolls or the people who just can't be logically consistent, so they have to make stupid jokes. It's fine. It's fine. But we're going to get to the calls. It's 218-632-9399. Because it's funny to make jokes about animal cruelty. It just tells me the type of person they are. It's more like some people who are anarchists just because it's not because of any principle. It's just maybe it's cool, or maybe it's the thing to do, or maybe they want to get, there's a chance that they'll get laid. But it's not because of a particular principle. Because if somebody is making these vegan jokes or the stupid animal cruelty jokes, at least come out and say what your core principles are and how eating meat is consistent with that. I'd like to see it. And I do have to say, we'll get to our call in a second. The fact that our teeth don't look like cats' teeth, who are true carnivores. And there's so many ways to go about showing biologically that we are not carnivores or omnivores. Our teeth are certainly not for... It's just so much evidence. But even still, we are rational, supposed to be rational. We don't need to engage in animal cruelty to feed ourselves and to be healthy and strong. It's one of those things. It's why most people, thank goodness we don't need them. Most people are not going to be consistent with the principles and be anarchists because they're too emotionally invested in something else. That's why people can't drop the support for Trump. They can't admit, and they don't want to admit, that a con man tricked them. And that's exactly what happened. All right, we have, I can't pronounce the name, but from Allentown, Pennsylvania. You've been on the show before, and I called you Tony before. I apologize. You're live on the No State Project.
Mark, it's Leif.
I'm sorry, what? How do I spell that?
Leif. It's L-A-F-E.
Leif. Okay, I'm sorry. Leif, welcome back to the show. I'll edit this so I know from now on.
Yeah. I went to court a month or so ago, and I put in all your motions that I got from you, and they denied them. I put them in different times, and for the first motion, they said I was 10 days late, and the other one, it was 2 days too late. You know, they had different times for each different motion that it was late. And I asked the judge, you know, what's the difference, and why is one time different late being for the other one? They didn't really have a good answer. They just said something about statutes and codes, but yeah, they denied all the motions. But, you know, I tried to do this stuff in court, you know, like your program, but he denied everything. And I objected all the way, but I still got convicted for the traffic citation for speeding.
Well, did you actually? Well, Leif, did you actually have a trial? I mean, was the police officer put on the stand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a trial. Yeah, I went in to see the prosecutor, and I tried to talk to her first and ask her the question what the evidence was, and you know, she come out and called me a sobering citizen, and then called in one of her buddies to help her out.
Oh, wow! Who? Now, the prosecutor did this?
Yeah.
Did you object and tell the judge that you're being smeared, that you want her sanctioned?
No, I didn't realize that I could have, you know, because it was my first experience of doing this. So, you know, I didn't understand how to, you know, question what the judge was saying, and you know, I tried to stay on top about, you know, asking the question, you know, does she have evidence, blah blah blah, and the cop was up there too. He was up on stage, but up there, but I couldn't. They just denied everything.
Okay, but it sounds like you weren't really prepared very well to go into court and defend yourself.
No. I never did no practice. You know, I've been in court before years ago, but you know, but I didn't have no idea really how to defend myself. I had court-appointed attorneys before, and
okay.
you know, when I asked them to do motions before for me, they just laughed. You know, the court-appointed attorneys.
Wait, before I get into you know, going over this stuff, you're telling me look, I'm no fan of lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I never pretended to be one. I'm not a lawyer, and there's no love lost there. Okay, but you asked a court-appointed lawyer to file a motion for you, and he laughed at you. What kind of motion were you asking him to file that he would, laugh in your face?
Well, I was wanting the evidence that the cops had their arresting evidence, because it was I got pulled over on my motorcycle and drugs and stuff. And I just was asking I wanted the communications between the cops, because they were following me around for a while, you know, and then they decided to pull me over. You know, so it was like 20 years ago. But I was wanting the information, the evidence of their communications, and they wouldn't get it for me.
So you're asking for basic discovery material, because that's what it is. And a lawyer, so 20 years ago, some lawyer laughed at your suggestion that you file for discovery.
Yeah, something like that. It's been so long, the memory isn't very clear because it happened so long ago. It might have been 25, 30 years ago.
Wow.
But I just know I wanted some discovery about the communications, and they kind of giggled about it, and they said, they wouldn't give it to me.
Wow. So they what a bunch of, yeah. Well, that's what lawyers do. You hit when you hit them square between the eyes with something, they'll either laugh, they'll try to gaslight you, or they'll deflect the attention. It's just like on that call that I recommended everyone go and listen to. It's with me and a prosecutor up in Saskatoon. And she said when it came to their claim of jurisdiction that she didn't need evidence to prove that. And I said, really? So this judge allows you to argue without evidence? And she gets upset with me. She says, you're twisting my words. What part of, you just said that the judge is not going to make you have to have evidence to support your claim. How did I take you how am I, that's what they do. Instead of just putting the damn evidence on the table.
Yeah. I sent you all the paperwork through your email about the denials, about my discovery and the other motion to quit. And did you ever get them?
I don't recall getting a lot of motions from you this week. I'll have to go, to
No, it was a month ago.
Oh, a month ago?
Yeah.
Well, that's I deal with a lot of people, so I honestly, I don't remember it at all. So maybe I didn't get it. But I'll have, maybe you can resend, or I can check it out and send you a confirmation email. They said that.
What about it? Go ahead.
If you've already had a trial, well, tell me. It sucks that you didn't prepare, because it's hard to kind of even gauge something like this for an appeal. So when the police officer was on the stand, well, the fact that I gotta give you, I gotta hit you with this one. The fact that you let this lawyer smear you and basically call you a terrorist, and not so many. When they say sovereign citizen, you have to immediately, everybody, when they do that, this is a dick move, because they're labeling you a terrorist. The FBI has classified sovereign citizens as domestic terrorists. So when they use that, that's what they are.
Yeah, I told them I wasn't.
Oh, okay. Well, you told them that, but you have to address this to the judge and let the judge know what they did. Hold on a second, because we had this happen somewhere else too. My name is Mark Stevens, going into the second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM. Remember, for those on YouTube, it is a radio broadcast, which is why there's not much speaking on the quarter of the hour breaks. But maybe we're starting to get some good numbers for the live broadcast, so maybe we can get that bumped up. Maybe we can break the record here. Maybe somebody can actually call the show with a rational argument for animal abuse. A rational argument. That doesn't mean because I like the taste. It's okay to slit an animal's throat, watch it bleed out, and then cut it up because you like the taste. Well, there are alternatives, though. You don't have to engage in animal cruelty. I remember, So, look, and I'm not going to apologize, because it's a matter of principles. We're talking about principles here. And it's about having to, it's not just, look, because we use these principles to argue better. We also use these principles, and we talk about logic. We talk about logical fallacies, because it not only helps in court, but it sharpens our BS meter. We can call people out on their BS. We can call them out when they're contradicting themselves and being inconsistent. So whether we're talking about court, or we're talking about veganism, we're talking about strict anarchy. You could say, what the hell are we talking about anarchy for when I thought the show was about court. The show, yes, involves court. And we help people. But the show's about anarchy. It's 3 hours of anarchy radio, and those principles are very, very important. Some of us hold those principles very dear. We want to be consistent with that. It means something to us. It's more important to us to be morally and ethically consistent, or if you don't like that, to be logically consistent, than the way something tastes. We put value on life. Again, even if you don't give a damn about animals, you don't care. Animal cruelty, we're good to go. At least care about yourself. And if you don't give a damn about yourself, if you have no, you just don't give a damn, you're like one of these stupid memes online about, dying, then why proclaim to be an anarchist? Why want to have a voluntary society? What is the point? What is the principle that underlies your actions and what you're saying? What is the underlying principle? That's what I want. So maybe somebody can call and let me know what the rational argument is for animal cruelty. When you have a choice and it's not necessary. Like to see that. Anyway, I'm going to take a little bit of a break, but we will be back in about 4 minutes. So don't go away. And the number for those listening on YouTube is 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project's second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio. Anarchy because we believe in principles and being as consistent with that as we can. Principle of do no harm and being consistent with that, which is why we can show, using that principle, we can show the contradictions and how criminal those co-government are. It's not necessarily the service, it's the manner in which it is provided, because the protection of life, liberty, and property should not involve the violation of life, liberty, and property, which is exactly what it does. The means are not consistent with the end. There you go. That's simple. That's probably why we lost Laugh. Hopefully he comes back, but there's a lot to unpack with what he was talking about. But you want to join me on the show, it's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. I would say that you have to put some time in. I will probably have to say this every single show. This is not a simple fix. I have never come out and said, file this motion and you're going to get a win. The only time I can show a 100% success rate with filing a motion and getting tickets thrown out is on Photo Radar in Arizona. Since 1998, every single one. I don't want to get a flood of people. I'd rather keep my 100% success rate. But even then, I don't say to someone in Arizona that he's defending against one of those. I don't turn around and say, oh, you're guaranteed, just file the motion and they'll throw it. No. This is not an easy fix. We are going against people who are criminals. Their only principle is power and money. They will lie and deflect attention and say whatever they have to get your money into their pocket. These are not nice people. These are some horrible people, violent people. You have to prepare. The idea, and if anyone floats the idea that you don't have to prepare when you go to court, is you're just wrong. There's a reason why someone like Jerry Spence is undefeated. The only attorney I think that's undefeated. Because he prepares. You have to prepare. What do you think, that even though he was an attorney after 20 years experience and has won every case, that he's not going to prepare when he goes into court? Oh my gosh, you gotta prepare. You gotta prepare. I think we got laugh back. So welcome back to the show. I'm talking, this is important, because you didn't put the time in to prep for court.
Oh yeah, you're right. And I've been watching you for years, And yeah, I knew I had to put time in, but I didn't get a chance to do it. The judge was nice and everything, but he just denied all the motions, and I tried to do everything, but he just denied everything and said, "You're guilty, pay this fine." He was just interested in getting his money.
Yeah,
that was all.
I got to hit you with this because other people listening are going to go through the same thing. When they pull this douche move and label you a sovereign citizen, you cannot let it go unnoticed or unchallenged. I don't mean just saying to the prosecutor. You have to bring it to the judge's attention. He may not do anything. But this happened to someone else recently in court, in front of the jury. The prosecutor got away with this in front of the jury. And it was quite something to see the appellate prosecutor, try to, spin that. Well, he didn't do anything that was overtly sovereign citizen-y. You have to object and say to the judge, I move that this man or woman be sanctioned as much as possible for smearing me and labeling me a terrorist. And that is grounds for disbarment. You actually falsely accuse someone of being a terrorist, they should be disbarred. Not just fired, they should be disbarred. That is with the damage something like that can do to someone's reputation. And we are on firm ground here, and we can say there is absolutely no logical basis whatsoever to say that just because I am challenging your assertions that I'm somehow a sovereign citizen. That has to be objected to, and it has to be firm. You cannot let them off the hook on that. So that's for you if it ever happens again, and it's for everyone in the future. Did this prosecutor get away with saying that in front of the judge?
No, this is in pretrial in her room.
Right. Okay.
In her office.
That's okay. So at least they didn't pull it. But don't you think that it's at least plausible that this prosecutor got a message to the judge and, hey, this is sovereign citizen. This is a slam dunk. Just deny everything, because that's what they actually.
Oh
do.
yeah, I'm sure of it.
We can't prove it though. But
no.
Look, I know for a fact that many of these agencies, and this is actually the policy of the Franchise Tax Board, if they get anything from a sovereign, what they believe is a sovereign citizen, if they get anything that disagrees with them, they automatically label it as frivolous, and their official policy is not to respond. So here the judge denied the motion without explanation. That happens. I would say it's at least very plausible, and it's very possible that this happened, that there was some ex parte communication. This prosecutor labeled you a terrorist, and that's what they said, and they gave that information, that false information, to the judge.
What about using judicial notices? Have you tried anything like that?
Well,
send them a judicial.
If you are in California, because it's different in California, where they take judicial notice of what the laws say or what a ruling is, then you could do that. And I do that as a standard operating procedure in California, but just in California.
Yeah, I was just figuring I'd use a judicial notice if possible for the denial of my motion.
Well, judicial notice for what? What do you want the judge to take judicial notice of?
Of them denying my motion because they didn't answer my questions.
But that's not that's not a judicial notice is for adjudicated facts that are not subject to reasonable dispute. So him denying the motion arbitrarily is a due process issue, sure, and you can file a motion to. But here he's saying it was late. And the fact is that jurisdiction can be challenged at any time, including on appeal for the first time. So,
right.
So that's an issue.
You can challenge it any time. It can't be late. It shouldn't be late.
Right. Now, discovery, there may be time limits on discovery. However, there is no time limit on Brady material. So just like jurisdiction can be challenged at any time, there's no time limit on Brady material. The moment they file the complaint against you, you can 5 years, if you could be sitting in prison 5 years from the date of your conviction, and information comes out that the prosecutor withheld exculpatory evidence, you can get a new trial. There is no.
So I could use a judicial notice to argue that they didn't give me all my discovery, which part of discovery was the evidence that they require for jurisdiction.
No, you got to get a judicial notice is not a remedy, something that we're using here. What you can do is you can bring in another motion to, let's say, a motion to vacate the decision because the judge deliberately misstated the law to deny you due process, that you did not get your Brady material because he allowed the prosecutor to not provide Brady material because he lied, saying that it was too late. There was no, so that's it's a motion to vacate the judgment on due process grounds.
Oh,
hold on one second. We're up against the break. My name's Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN FM, the Liberty Radio Network, and streaming live on my YouTube channel, No State Project, of course. Welcome back to the No State Project. It's August 25th, 2015. Glad to be with you here on the second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio, brought to you by my good friend Bill and also Dan up in New Hampshire. Do appreciate their support. If you want to help support the show, it is appreciated. Even $1, whatever it is appreciated. You go to markstevens.net. And use the sales button or the PayPal. But I do appreciate whatever support we can get for the big show. Want to finish up here talking falsely accused sovereign citizen in Pennsylvania. And I just wanted to point out that recently we had someone who was labeled a sovereign citizen in front of the jury and the judge, and the only thing that the prosecution could come out with to say that he was a sovereign citizen was that he mentioned that his participation, he signed the ticket on the threat, duress, and coercion, and that his participation in court was coerced. And as far as, if he did, and he even had them agree, if he didn't sign the ticket, he was going to go to jail. So it's factually accurate. How is pointing out that your participation in court is coerced? How is that making someone a sovereign citizen? That's like saying, well, Hitler drank water and he was a Nazi and a bad guy. And, Obama drinks water or Trump. It's such a stupid, So again, anyone gets labeled a sovereign citizen, raise holy hell about that. And I would certainly file a claim against their insurance, and I would file something against the bar. It doesn't have to be very long, but you have to put in there, this SOB accused me of being a terrorist because I wrote under threat, duress, and coercion on a ticket that was under threat, duress, and coercion. Okay, so I think to finish up what we were talking about before, a motion to vacate the judgment based on these due process violations, which include that the judge lied that there was a time limit on Brady material.
Yeah, they said it had to be in 20 days prior or something, or 20 days after I got the ticket. I think it was 20 days prior to court.
Well, okay, and that might be, but that doesn't count for Brady material.
It doesn't matter about Brady material.
Because an example of this is if you are in the heat of the moment, you are actually at the trial. One or two witnesses have already gone on the stand, and the prosecution gets information from the police or whoever that it goes to show that you're innocent. They have to give it to you right then and there. They have to give it to you. And they can't turn around and say, nah, you didn't ask for this 20 days before the trial, so even though it shows they do that, yes, but the due process and fairness is violated when they do it. So due process requires they have to give you all exculpatory information when they have it. when it's available to you.
Well, they gave me a bunch. You know, they even let me watch. We watched the video of the stop in court. The cops recording, but it didn't show either. It didn't show what I wanted to show. It didn't show me having to speed up and to get in front of a car before it was too late, and there was too many vehicles behind it. It didn't show what I needed to show, and it didn't prove either way. You know, nothing.
But we're looking at specifically here as Brady material. So even if they get you on, you don't get traditional discovery because you didn't ask for it in time. I think that's BS. I think that's ridiculous. But we're going to give the benefit just for this, for argument here, that there is no time limit on Brady. Now, they may turn around and try to say, well, there was no Brady material to give you. Oh, so your witness did have personal knowledge of the matters they testified to? They had personal knowledge, the laws apply, and I violated them? Personal knowledge. Which can, and where's the proof of that? So before, so we gotta line up a calls here. So I just want to ask you real quick here. When you cross-examine a police officer, did you ask them the basic questions? Did you determine on your own that just because I was physically in Pennsylvania, the laws applied and that gave you jurisdiction, and then follow that up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it.
Great.
I don't remember what they say. I'm gonna have to get the recordings from the trial.
Well, they probably said yes. But did you then ask what facts they relied on to support that determination?
No, I didn't do that.
You see, that is how we push the judge into a corner. We push them into the corner. You're going to either do the right thing or you're going to expose how dishonest and unfair this proceeding is. So you still have them at least on the Brady violation. So you could also if you you can appeal, which it's just a notice. You can also do a post-conviction relief and put in there that due process was denied because the judge misled you as far as Brady material, okay?
Post-conviction relief?
Yes. It's the same as, motion to vacate the judgment for due process violations. Okay?
Okay, vacate due process violation?
Yeah. Motion to vacate on grounds of due process violations. All right. Appreciate the call. I got to let you go. We got a new caller. I think we have New Hampshire, if I'm not mistaken. But we have area code 603. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi.
What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, I'm Abel Freeman. You know me.
Oh, Abel.
Dan from way back. New Hampshire.
Right.
I was at your 8-hour seminar that I kind of slept through.
Yeah, I appreciate
back
that.
in the day.
We a lot of people
unfortunately,
silver. Yeah, a lot of people unfortunately slept through that. I know Ian Freeman of the network, and I think he had been up most of the night. I don't think it was because of the workshop being boring, because it certainly wasn't. I was the one that was awake, and I can assure you it wasn't boring.
I was desperately trying to stay awake, but there was something going on with me, because I think I got some sleep the night before, but whatever. I wanted to talk about you were just bringing up diet and I guess you've gone vegan, huh?
Yes, I've gone more consistent with my anarchist principles, and went vegan live on the show 3 years ago.
Well, listen, I don't have any argument with that, but I just read this book.
Abel, I'm real sorry. We're up against a break, so just hold tight. We'll be back in a moment. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network, and streaming live on my YouTube channel, No State Project. We'll be back with your calls in just a few moments, but you want to join me, it's 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020 with the hashtag, and we'll get you in that there queue, so don't go away. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network, and streaming live on my YouTube channel. And how somebody, I guess Eric, why you would think that you can't be an anarchist and believe the obvious truth that the earth is round, that is a sphere. Wow. I could see the thing, you can't be a consistent anarchist and not be vegan because the principles are the same damn principle. I get that. But don't fault anybody, say that you can't call yourself an anarchist if you're not a flat earther. This thing, what brought me and a lot of people to anarchy is the principles, and the principle also that rational, that the facts have to line up. And the evidence, these things. So the flat earth has been debunked and shown to be so god-awfully wrong so easily. So I will admit some kind of a bias here. I do tend to block flat earthers. It is a horrible problem on Facebook, but well, maybe we'll talk about more of that later. But yeah. All right, Abel, I'm sorry. We were going to break right as you were talking. You were saying...
That's all right.
You don't have an issue with veganism? Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm with you on the flat earthers. That's just crazy. And I know some people in the, part of the Free State Project that I considered, rather aware that are going there, which just freaks me out. But on Facebook, where I frequent comment with many a Free Stater, I don't really have any problems with them. I don't engage them, when I see something come up. But that's I'm with you on that. But the veganism, I just read this book, The Obesity Code, and it's on it's in the comments, in the
YouTube
thread here.
Okay.
Yeah, YouTube, and I agree with the benefits of a vegan diet. It turns out that I don't have any, celiac disease or whatever for dairy. So I don't think, as a matter of fact, my body doesn't seem to work well without dairy.
Without dairy?
The other thing is that the obesity code actually calls out the major factor that causes people to gain weight is not fasting.
But the thing is, Abel, I got to jump in here. The thing is a very simple formula that I think applies to 99.9% of the people out there. Because I'm not familiar with a metabolic disorder that will make someone gain fat and get fatter if they're eating at maintenance or less. There are certain things that are very clear-cut in this world. One of them is, and there's no mystery to this, it's nothing about, I have family that think that their body is somehow different metabolically and physiologically than the other 7 billion people in the world and the billions who have come before us. You eat, and the food is energy. Even sugar has energy. It has no nutritional value, though. You gain fat, you get fatter by eating more calories than your body burns in a day. You lose fat, you lose weight by burning more calories than you eat. This is for everybody. It is not a secret. There's no money to be made in that because it's so commonly known. You don't have to read in the book what's causing you to be fat. What's causing someone to be fat is eating. Look, there's an energy imbalance. That is as difficult as this really has to be.
Well, there's that. What you're saying is truth for 6 months, but the fact is that if going beyond that, there's a metabolic issue with regards to your body actually conserving energy when you're in starvation mode.
The thing is, Abel, the Minnesota study, I think, is it takes extreme calorie restriction over a long period of time. No one should be suggesting. Nobody should be suggesting. But wait, let me finish. But let me finish.
Go ahead.
If you're talking about 6 months, so let's say someone needs 3,000 calories to maintain their body weight. Nobody's saying to only eat 400 calories a day and over the course of months to lose weight. You just if you require 3,000 calories a day to maintain your body weight, and you only eat 2,400 calories a day, and over the course of 6 months, you will lose weight. So this is a problem that people have when they say vegan is just not healthy. And it turns out they're eating like 500 calories a day. They're starving themselves. And they want to blame the philosophy of veganism for that failure. You have to actually eat a balanced diet. And if you're trying to lose weight, you eat 500, 600, 700 calories less a day over the course of, several months, and you will lose weight. Now, when you're saying the 6 months, what happened to you after 6 months, and how many calories a day were you eating? You got some serious background noise with you, Abel.
There's noise. There's noise coming in off of your mic. Bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I got to mute you up. It's really bad. Maybe I'll come back and maybe it'll be better. We have a lot of calls too, but I think that's on your end because we didn't have that with the previous caller.
Right.
We'll see. Why don't you give us a call back? Maybe we can get that cleared up. But I'm gonna have to. I definitely have to let you go because it's too much. And this is a lot of this has to do with. And look, I used to train people. Diet. People may look and say linebackers and think that they're healthy. They're not. They have great athletic ability, especially since they're only in their 20s but that diet catches up with you. And even with athletes, there's maybe it's not a very commonly known thing, but if you are an athlete or you train athletes or you engage in athletic, things, there's a very common phrase that I've heard this almost my entire life. You cannot out-train a bad diet. It will catch up with you. You cannot, and you cannot eat trash and expect to perform very well over a long period of time. Not how it works. Not how it works. And there's no mystery to losing weight, but it's just like going into court. You can't ignore the evidence or the lack of evidence. You have, you have to look at the proof. You have to look when somebody is saying these things. Oh, veganism's great, but after 6 months, what is happening to you? After 6 months, what? It's just like this anti-vegan says she claims she was a vegan, but she ate cheese every chance she could get, and she said her health collapsed. And not one person that I've ever seen interview this woman, not one said, "What does that mean? What do you mean your health collapsed? Were you hospitalized? What was the problem?" But it's just like a damn bureaucrat. You get this vague statement. Oh, I tried veganism and I was a good vegan. I ate cheese every chance I could get, which means, wow, that's not vegan, that's vegetarian. And I would love to have the opportunity to question this woman because she gets a lot of money from selling her book. because she seems to have some legitimacy because she claims to have been a vegan. Again, anybody with half a brain in their head knows somebody eating cheese every chance they can get is not a vegan. But when somebody says their health was affected, so this woman, very prominent anti-vegan, when someone says that their health collapsed, you have to say, the first question should be, could you be more specific? What did that mean? Did you have cancer? Did you have heart disease? What happened? What actually happened to you? They have these things called medical books, and they're filled with symptoms and things and causes and known metabolic type disorders and whatnot. You should never allow anyone, whether it's about veganism, whether it's about statism, don't let them get away with such a vague statement. You have to ask questions. And so if you see, and I don't remember her name, she's got short hair and she was on Joe Rogan and she's on, there's dozens of videos of her. She always uses the same phrase, my health collapsed, but I've never heard her say that she was hospitalized near death. I've never seen any kind of medical report. I've never had her say anything about what the specific health problem was. Well, hell, if you're eating cheese every chance you can get, I could see colon cancer being high on the list. Eating cheese every chance you can get, I can certainly see that you're not having regular bowel movements. How could this possibly still be a discussion among people who claim to be rational thinkers and engage in skepticism and whatnot? You can see the studies that were done that the only group of people with a healthy BMI are vegans as a group. Yeah, I know you have athletes that weigh more and the BMI is off. We're talking about regular people, not people on steroids. The people who have the highest BMI rate is meat eaters. You see that the highest rate for all-cause mortality are by meat eaters. The lowest rate of mortality, all-cause mortality, the lowest risk are vegans. This is the data. So just like going into court, just like hearing a status, just like someone who's trying to make an argument for statism that government is a necessary evil. You can't just allow people to get away with that unchallenged. When someone says, well, that's the law, that's a general statement. You cannot, no skeptic, no rational person can allow someone to get away with making an open-ended, vague statement like that. You have to press them on it. When someone says to you, when someone left this comment recently, I need to disable that on my email, that the evidence proving that the laws apply to me or to you is that other people are in prison. You can't just take a statement like that at face value. You have to challenge it. When we're in court, we make an objection, ask the question, how exactly does that prove this? Show the relevance of these, show the relevance of this. If you're not in court, you certainly have to call them on it and ask them to explain themselves. Exactly how does putting someone else in prison prove that this written instrument applies to me? So it's the same thing, somebody saying it's not animal cruelty to eat an animal. Really? To slit an animal's throat, especially when you have it's not necessary to do that to sustain your own life? We're back here live on the No State Project for those listening on LRN. We went right through the commercial that time, trying to save some time. So if you didn't want to hear the vegan stuff, but it all ties in. It's the same damn principles, everybody. That's the way I see it. We've got, how does that happen every time? But we've got Kerry. Haven't heard from Kerry in a while. Kerry, welcome back to the show. I'm hoping you've got some good news for me. I'm getting nothing but background noise today. This is not a tech issue, by the way. It's not my issue. We'll have to mute Kerry back up. We have a new caller. We have area code 760. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from? $760. It's Southern California. Okay. All right. I may have to stand corrected. We'll try again. Area code 760. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is John Bolton, and I'm calling from Joshua Tree in San Bernardino.
Hey, all right.
I wanted to,
San Bernardino.
what's that?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
San Bernardino. I'm not. Yeah. Well, I'll be there next week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is the first time I've been able to get through to your program. I've been watching you for a couple of years, and I really like what you've been saying. Right now, I'm facing a ticket in the courts here, and I've been watching two of your programs here. One is Plead of Guilty, and there's another one with you and another gentleman there. And I've got to go to court on the 25th of next month.
Oh.
And what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to get a copy of that Plead of Guilty. And you have to understand something. I'm very new on the computer. So, yeah, I'd like to know what I can do to get a copy of that.
Well, you want to get the demur. You want to get also, which is the same thing as a motion to dismiss, and it comes with the discovery request, the motion for judicial notice, and part of that is the unsigned plea of guilty, and it comes with instructions and also support on email, Skype, and as well as being able to call back into always being able to call into the show for help. I got to tell you, we don't normally give out, and I'll say to people, you don't have to give your last name. That's not. When you said John Bolton, I almost hung up on
you. Why is that?
John, that's a name shared by somebody who's one of the most vile war hawks we've had in the last 30 years. What an unfortunate fellow to share your name with, John Bolton. One he wants to hang up, the other part.
Yeah, and he talked to my mama on that.
Well, you're not familiar with him? He's the guy with the 70s porn mustache.
No, I don't know the gentleman.
Oh,
I don't know him.
Lucky.
I live in Joshua Trees. Where does he live at? L.A.
He's probably in D.C. But all right, so that's what. All right, so you're new to this, so I do want to point out that we don't want to make the same mistake that other people like Loff from Pennsylvania had made, where this is not a file the demur and it gets dismissed. You have to put some work into this. And so you're going to have to get a little bit computer savvy so that you can get into the Skype chat or maybe even the Discord chat that's with that, so that you can spend some time learning how to apply these principles. So learn the principles and then you do the role playing so that you're good at actually applying them.
Well, I've been building transmissions for the last 35 years, and I'm retired now, and I'm 70 years old. And it just seems like wherever I drive in here in San Bernardino, boy, they're ready to get you on anything. And so I've been watching your show for a couple of years, because back in the 60s, my dad gave me the vehicle code. And when I had the book back then, it said commercial, and now it says California. And I've come to realize there's two systems out here. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of giving these people my money. So I've been watching your show, and that's what I want to do is I want to try to figure out what to do so when I go to court, I can, be on top.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't get into legal interpretation. One, it's a very high standard of proof. Two, they have conflicting legal interpretations they can use against you. I stick with evidence. Another thing is, number three is, if you start using such legal interpretation, they will be able to legitimately tie you to sovereign citizens because that's the type of crap that they use. So when we get accused of being a sovereign citizen, we can show, and again, even the prosecutor in a case recently had to backpedal from that and say, well, it wasn't actually sovereign citizen stuff, but it's similar. he had to back away from that, admit that, in a sense that they were wrong to do that. So stick with the facts. Look, the police officer is making several legal determinations or claims against you. He's saying that the laws apply to you because you're physically in California and you violated them, right? I mean, isn't that what they're doing?
Yes.
Now, isn't it better to attack that as far as what evidence he has to support that than to try to argue what the laws actually say?
That makes sense. It does. It really makes sense. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
No, now that doesn't mean it's not going to be difficult, because you got your hands full, okay? But it's going to be a lot easier for you to defend yourself when you're in the lion's den, because you're going to have a much better defense, because it's based on logic, it's based on reason, and it's taking their own system and using it against them. We know that logic. Look, even in court, we know that the burden of proof is on the accuser, right?
Right.
Now, all we do is go in and object and try to hold the prosecution to their burden. So if you've seen the video on the unsigned plea of guilty, all we're trying to do is bring out that the prosecution doesn't have the evidence to support their claim. And that if they somehow manage to bring that out, we'll sign this and get on with life. But all that you and I are trying to do is to get them to verify that their claim is true. And the claim, again, you got to keep saying it. Their claim is, I saw you in California. That means the laws apply and gives me jurisdiction. And you'll find out if you have to go to court, which you probably will, there's not a shred of evidence to support that. And they will say anything that they have to, no matter how stupid it sounds, to try to deflect away from the prosecution's lack of evidence, including saying to you, and what would you say? Well, role play a little here. If I'm the judge and you're saying that the prosecution needs evidence to prove their claim of jurisdiction, and I come out and I say, he doesn't need evidence to prove that. He doesn't need evidence to prove that, sir.
I see.
What would you say to that?
It seems very simple.
So if I'm saying to you, I want you to respond as if we're in court. I'm the judge and I'm saying, Mr. Bolton, he doesn't need evidence to prove that that's true. And I say that with caution because I know I've heard John Bolton likes to talk a lot about invading countries. It didn't land at all.
Yeah, but
really,
I always thought we always needed the evidence.
Yes, but
in court.
Yes, and so we're role playing a little bit, and so I want to know how you would respond to me. I'm the judge, and I'm saying to you, Mr. Bolton, the prosecution does not have to have any evidence to prove jurisdiction.
And how would I respond to the judge?
Yeah, how would you respond?
Well, I think I would just say to the judge, I thought that's what the law is all about, is the evidence. And where's the evidence? Right. See, where's don't I need a valid complaint and the guy that got injured or something?
See, that's a question which you want to ask a question, but what you said before were assertions or statements, and what you want to always keep in mind is, like I mentioned before, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. It's not on the judge.
Right.
The judge, though, has to hold the prosecution to their burden. So if he's making a determination of jurisdiction, he can only base it on what the prosecution has presented, not what the Supreme Court has said 60 years ago. He has to base it on what the prosecution has presented, and only on what the prosecution has presented.
I see.
Okay, we're up against the top of the hour break, so just hold on. We got a lot more stuff to get to with you. My name is Mark Stevens. We're up against the top of the hour break, so if you want to join the show, it is 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020 and a £. So we will be back with John in San Bernardino in just a moment. Yes, welcome to the third of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network, and of course streaming live on my YouTube channel. No State Project. Again, the show brought to you by the benevolent Bill and friend Dan up in New Hampshire. Really, really do appreciate the support of the show. And if you would like to do that, you can get that. You can do that at markstevens.net. And if you want a model for how to be effectively in court and how many of us have been able to replicate the success in court, getting tickets and assessments thrown out, you can get more. You can get Government Indicted and get that at markstevens.net. Also as an ebook. I want to bring back. We're talking with John in Joshua Tree that they're in San Bernardino, and the importance of challenging these people using logic and reason and holding them to their burden of proof. So what we were saying before the break there, John, was if I'm the judge and I'm saying to you that the prosecutor can make that the argument of jurisdiction against you, and he doesn't need any evidence at all, we're trying to see what is a good way to address that statement by the judge. And I'll throw this at you, but you want to always keep in mind, assume that what the judge is saying and what the prosecutor is saying is a lie, and formulate a good objection through and a leading question based on that. Never trust that what they're saying is the truth, because at the very least, they're just going to verify what they said was right, and then you can deal with that. But if you don't get them to verify what they're saying, they're gonna run over you. So again, I'm the judge, and I'm saying to you, Mr. John, the prosecution does not need evidence to support that claim of jurisdiction. We don't have John here. That sucks. Well, hopefully John is still listening to the show. So what you want to do is to object. Obviously, almost every time you open your mouth in court, it should be with the word objection. This is really bad. So what you could say, really, to is say, well, objection. They don't even have to prove that I'm in California now. Now he's going to say, well, yes, they had to prove you're in California. So they do have to have some evidence. So your statement before, sir, was wrong. The prosecution does need evidence to support their claim, right? Okay. Well, I object to this. I want to know exactly why you tried to mislead me. Why did you tell me that he doesn't have to have evidence to prove that when he clearly does? Man, talk about, and now if you're able to do that, that is all you need to show that this judge, before anything really even started to happen, had no interest in being fair with you. He had no interest. Zero. Because he's lying that the prosecution doesn't need evidence for jurisdiction. Again, for people who are new. When they say jurisdiction is a pure issue of law requiring no evidence, but for your physical presence in Arizona, that's a contradiction. They're lying to you. Jurisdiction requires evidence. Subject matter jurisdiction, even if we take personal jurisdiction off the table, subject matter jurisdiction requires evidence. You need proof. Even if it's a prima facie, which is a very low, I know, you still need evidence. So don't listen to these people when they're lying to your face and saying that jurisdiction requires no evidence. It's a pure issue of law. No time you apply the laws to somebody is that a theoretical or pure issue of law requiring no evidence. Application is not theoretical. So, no, I'm not mad at Tom. Why are you saying that? Why, Tommy boy, why are you going to say that I'm angry? Am I coming off as angry today?
No. Well, if you want me to mention it, obviously I did something that you weren't real happy with recently, and I did it for a reason, and it is done, and it's water under the bridge at this point.
What did you have to do? Why do you think I'm angry with you on the? Did you think I was angry with you on the chat?
Well, in general, because I nuked your room, and I nuked it for a reason.
Oh, I wasn't. That.
Now.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with what was being discussed on the show today or in the chat.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, your vegan rants are and I respect it.
Right.
I respect what you have to say about veganism, and I understand your perspective and concept of, anarchy and do no harm, and your concept of we are harming animals by killing them and eating them, and whatever, that's your concept.
Wait, Tom.
About today.
But I can't let that go. It's not my concept that they are being hurt. Are you saying that the facts are? It's almost like an alternative fact. Are you saying that animals that are used, for food and made in, okay, are you saying they're not being hurt?
Well, the system that we have now for the mass production of meat, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah,
but when you look at, for instance, I live on Michigan, and we have a large deer population, for instance. And if it's not harvested and maintained, they starve, they die of disease, they get hit by cars. I mean, again, we could debate this, I guess, for all day. And we've gone down this route before, and it's just beating a dead horse.
Yeah, but you actually came around and agreed with the vegan principle. But the thing is, the question I was asking, though, yeah, but even if it's not in mass production, you don't think the animals are being hurt, like when you hunt them?
Yeah, I mean, I myself have never gone hunting. My father used to do it. A lot of my friends do it. In my mind, if the animal is killed humanely, instantly, like for instance, I was at a cattle processing place where, they clamp the cow gently, if you want to say that, into a place where he can't move or she can't move around very much. And they put this device right to the forehead, and it injects a pin right into the brain, and the cow dies instantly. I mean, it can't be more humane than that. Yeah,
it can be. You don't kill them.
But, I mean, think about this for a second. If we didn't kill animals and eat them, can you imagine the overpopulation of animals everywhere? It'd be insane.
Yeah, but Tom, the only reason why there's so many is because they're being overbred for economic reasons. They're being purposely okay. They actually call in dairy farms or whatnot. They actually call it a rape room. I had a brother-in-law who's passed since, but he ran a farm, and he would put the thing on his arm. He would stick it into the cow and artificially inseminate it. If we stopped, see, it's the same thing with the deer. The deer population is a problem because we've displaced their natural habitat to such a degree. So it's because of human intervention that's causing the problem. And the idea that you go out and you kill them so that they won't die of other reasons, that to me, that doesn't sound, I think it's better to maybe put, like what they've done in some parks, you reintroduce natural predators. See, there's no ethical problem having a wolf or a fox eat a deer. There is, I think, an ethical problem of shooting the deer for food, or even because you think you have to cull the herd to keep the numbers down. Because you are hurting it. The thing about humanely killing, any serial killer can say, none of my victims suffered. I used a horse tranquilizer, and they didn't feel anything. They weren't even conscious when I did it. Killing is inhumane.
The idea of putting predators in an area where humans are, as you just said, the human population is growing and expanding. So we are obviously, getting in the deer population's way, whatever you want to call
Tom, it. We're up against the break, so I gotta put you on hold. So just hold on. We'll get back to displace the population. My name is Mark Stevens, listening to the No State Project on LRN.FM and my YouTube channel, No State Project. We'll be back with Tom talking about the deer population in Michigan and ethics principles. Welcome back. Talking with Tom from the Big D, Tommy Boy, and bring him back in a moment. I mentioned here because ethics is really about a choice, and that's why a true ethical dilemma would be where whatever choice you make, something bad's going to happen and something undesirable. And so a legitimate ethical dilemma is, let's say, abortion when it's endangering the life of the mother. There are two sides to that. Well, the child is innocent, and shouldn't be killed, or that there's the mother and who has more moral value. Either way you go on that, something bad happens. But there is no ethical dilemma whatsoever with 99% of the people going vegan. And vegan is not about perfection, but it's about a choice. If you have a choice to eat just and meet all your nutrition by eating plants and not killing an animal, that's the ethical thing to do. If you have a choice of getting all your nutrition from plants and you still choose to kill the animal, that is unethical. That is a bad choice. Yeah, you have the choice. You can make that, just like Jeffrey Dahmer, right, Tom? Jeffrey Dahmer had the choice to abduct and rape young men and then kill and eat them. Bad choice, though. But to turn around and try to justify something that's immoral by saying, well, it's my choice. Yeah, but you have the choice to be ethical or not be ethical. That's how ethics work. But you were saying about displacing I want to get back. I hate being cut off. I want you to finish what you were saying. You were talking about displacing the deer population.
Yeah, and Q and I were just talking about this. People are moving out further and further out to the country, and of course that's going to displace the natural animals that live there. So, who comes first, the animals or us? I don't know.
Well,
and if you start adding predators into the mix, yeah, you put your little kid out there in the backyard to play, and the next thing you know, he's dinner.
Well, some places obviously are not appropriate for that, but the thing is, there are more empty houses in the United States, according to a bunch of studies, more empty houses, and this is true in the Big D too, than there are homeless people. There's no reason.
Yeah.
There is from my understanding, there is no justification for most places to be building at the rate that they're building. It's just to keep these people in real estate rolling in cash. If anything, it could be diverted to, look, how many neighborhoods around the Big D could be, what's the word? I can't think. But can't, houses can be rebuilt and already, look, I'm sure we've all seen the videos of Michigan, Detroit neighborhoods. They're like ghost towns.
Yep.
So there's plenty of space that's already there that has been built on that can be renovated. That's what I could. There's plenty of buildings and houses.
Who would move there? Who would move there in their right mind, Mark? I'm sorry, man. The people that are down there are freaking animals. They have no ethics, no morality. They will shoot you and rob you for your shoes without even thinking twice.
Well, I'm using that as an example. They're building. I see out here myself. Look, the biggest reason why so many people are moving to Phoenix is because they got to get the hell out of California because of what government's doing there. But it still comes down to you've got human intervention that's causing the problem. And so is it ethical being that we to kill them because of a problem that humans are causing?
Right. Well, yeah, you make a lot of good points. I agree with, but I've tried to do some vegan. I can never be full. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. Maybe I'm going about it all wrong, but
you can't get full.
Anyway, yeah, just I can eat a lot of vegetables, and an hour later, I'm starving again.
Well, how many calories are you getting? Do you have any idea how many calories a day you were getting?
No, not when I was trying to vegan. No.
See, that is some, seriously, that is where a lot of people, do really bad. They want to blame the philosophy and say that following a plant-based diet doesn't work because they're under eating. You can't eat just vegetables is a really good part of a balanced diet. I can almost guarantee you that if you introduce black beans and lentils, my main protein source is black beans and lentils. So every meal I get, I have at least 40 grams of plant protein. Now I do that a few times a day. I have easily gotten 100 grams of proteins. So there's, and my lifting reflects that. But I know I get I get about maintain my body weight. I got to get about 2,700 calories, 2,800 calories a day, given that I work out with gymnastics and Olympic lifting every day, except for weekends. And well, 6 days a week. But I know how many calories I'm getting.
Right.
I have a bowl that I use, and I know how much 2 cups is. And I know that 2 cups of lentils is 40 grams of protein. So, and I can tell you from experience there, Tommy boy, if you are getting enough fiber in your diet, and I'm not saying for a second here, my friend, don't rush and get 100 grams of fiber in today. Ease into it. If you're getting 100 grams of fiber a day and you're still not getting satisfied, I don't know what to tell you there. Because
well, I'll research into it some more. It does make a lot of sense. And I know it's expensive, too. I mean, last time we discussed this was quite a while back, but I actually went to the grocery store and picked up some of the vegan, the artificial meat, if you want to call it that. And that stuff is expensive, man.
Yeah. Yes. But if you make the main, now you have your veggies too with them, but if you're eating a lot of and I mentioned black beans because that's the way you can still be social. Black beans and lentils, very high in protein, very low in fat, very high in carbohydrate. Great. You can get, because I know you train, and that'll help. That's not expensive. I mean, you can buy a month's worth of lentils for like $6.
Yeah,
you have to learn.
That's true.
You have to learn how to cook. I'll tell you what I have like in the morning, which is about 800-900 calories. I have 2 cups of blueberries or mixed berries, 4 bananas. I have some oats in there. I have some flaxseed, and I put some walnuts in. And so that gives me about 800-900 calories, and that's how I start the day. After I work out, because I always train fasted. After I work out, I have that. So that gets the day started. And I can say, if you did a blend like that, if you were hungry in an hour, you may have a problem. That you got something going on there. But hold on a second, Tommy boy. I'll be right back. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. Talking with good old friend Tom from the Big D. Here on the No State Project. If you want to join us, we got a few segments left. It's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. And I'm going to actually blow through this. And I'm going to, Tom, I'm going to bring you back here. And I think
all right.
Yeah, we'll blow through this because if we get any more calls, I want to be able to do that. And I get it. And I get that it can be and we're getting some background noise with you there. What? Thank you. It can be expensive to buy. Well, look, buying processed stuff, vegan wise, yes, can be very expensive. Unless you get an Oreos, but I'm not recommending that. But it comes because you got to avoid the sugar, of course. But I have an advantage that I already enjoyed cooking, and to me it's not a big deal. I like to cook. So that is just something that you have to do. But there are so many vegan alternative. Look, I make this thing I mentioned on the show before. You take raw cashews, which I admit are not always, you got to get them on sale, but you soak raw cashews overnight and you blend that up into like a cream. It's like a sour cream substitute. Yeah. You put a little bit of apple cider vinegar, some lemon juice, lime juice, okay, some garlic and some salt, and you blend that with some, let's say, coconut milk or cashew milk. Let me tell you, I've had people who didn't. I asked them first, do you have any nut allergies? And no. Okay, and so they have that. Everyone is raved. They think it's fantastic. Not a low calorie thing, but it's good. And so if you make it right, I can't give you measurements because I don't measure, but you don't go overboard with the apple cider vinegar. Man, that stuff, That's good stuff.
Sounds interesting.
And hummus is, for the most part, vegan. Hummus, guacamole.
Yeah. Q likes hummus. I don't like the taste of hummus at all.
Wow. Really? Have you had different types? I mean, there's just hummus that...
No, I guess maybe not. Every time I've tried it, it's like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you still have the guacamole and avocados, which are fantastic. So
well, I don't eat guacamole either. I don't like it.
Wow. Okay. Well, because we've had some people here saying that. I think Viper was saying if he doesn't eat animals, he will literally die. And so I haven't seen, and maybe you'll have to redo this. Somebody has to post, what are you getting from the animals that you can't get from plants? And I think, I don't know, somebody else did this, and I think maybe it said B12, but you could take a supplement for B12, or you can get fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and just not wash them. I mean, you can make a salad and not wash the salad. That you can get that, but it seems to me that just the fact that you can easily and you can get this. What I use for B12, because I don't take supplements. What I use for B12, Tom, is I use the coconut milk, and that's not that.
What do you mean by not washing it? What do you mean by you mean don't wash the vegetables?
Well, I'm just saying if you didn't have the opportunity to get like coconut milk that's supplemented with the B12. B12 is naturally occurring on plants. That's where, so animals, cows have B12 in them because they're eating grass. It's a bacteria. You're
saying that when we wash the plants, we wash the B12 off?
Yes.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a consequence of modern living. That's why you can have someone in Africa who's vegan if they're eating, they're actually in the bush or something like that. If you're eating off the tree or off the plant, you're getting B12.
Huh. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So so someone like Viper, just buy a coconut milk, and you can but that's fortified. But you can't buy a commercially made milk that's not fortified. I mean, even dairy milk, which is always with vitamin D and other things. So that is an alternative. You don't have to eat animals to get B12. You could just drink coconut milk or something like that. So you just.
I've been taking Life Extension Foundation supplements for many, many years. I don't train anymore. I used to weigh between 155 and 165, and I mean, strong as an ox. I've done a short range 605-pound deadlift. I used to be really, really good shape. Over the years now, I'm at 190 pounds. I don't work out anymore. I mean, it is taking its toll. I know that, but I'm lazy. I just have changed my ways.
Okay,
but anyway,
it's a habit.
I just want to say with the Life Extension Foundation's vitamins, supplements, I still take those religiously, about 16 different supplements and pills a day to make sure that I get my nutrition at least.
Wow. I was taking B12, but then I had my B12 taken, and it was like 1,500. And so I said, no, I'll just have coconut milk, and I'm not going to supplement that. And it's a lot less money. And coconut milk is comparable to dairy milk as far as price. It's not as calorically dense, but hey, that's.
Well, I spend about $2,500 a year on my supplements, but I look at it as food. That's the bottom line. I make sure I get my vitamin D. I do all I can, but again, I do drink, that, and that's not good for me. And of course, that strips your body of nutrients. I don't smoke cigarettes, so that's good. At least it's not stripping me there.
Well, any kind of smoke is bad. So, I mean, if someone's going to partake of the herb, you're much better off doing it, with brownies without egg, which, yes, you can make vegan brownies. But pretty much anything. And I make a pretty mean seitan, and you make it right, and it because it's wheat gluten. And yes, I always ask somebody if they have a legitimate gluten intolerance. I never just that goes for everybody. Never feed someone seitan without asking if they have a gluten intolerance. But because it's predominantly protein far more protein per gram than beef. When you mix it into a dough, when you knead it enough, it actually has the texture of meat. It's kind of freaky that way. Well, because
what did you call it?
It's called seitan.
Huh. I've heard of it.
It's again, it's a meat. They call it wheat meat, and I prefer it. I'm not a big tofu guy. If it's made right, yeah, you can do pretty good with an extra firm tofu. But boy, the seitan, you make that right, you're good. And so I've gotten pretty good at that. I do simmer it, and I've gotten pretty good at that. So that if you mix.
Does your family eat with like you do, or your wife and kids and such, or are they also vegan?
My daughter is a vegan. My wife is mainly plant-based. I do a lot of food prep, not only for myself, but also for my wife who goes to work. So when I do the food prep for her and I prep her meals, it's all plant-based. So typical thing will be a small sweet potato and asparagus with a salad. Cut up watermelon or melon, or let's say, what's the orange one? Cantaloupe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love cantaloupe.
So yeah, there are certain people that there is certain, where because of someone's saying here, and I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe it is, but Viper's saying if he eats vegetables, it reverses his meds, or it kind of interferes with his medication. I don't know. All right, okay, so maybe he has to cut vegetables out, but you could still eat fruits, you could still eat nuts, and you can still eat legumes, I'm assuming, because it's not a vegetable. So having black beans and lentils and rice maybe is not it shouldn't be an issue. But I don't know. Only a doctor who's looking at the actual blood work and knows what's going on physiologically can say that. I don't know if it's just vegetables. But
man, I'm not much of a fan of lentils. You must have some good recipes to be able to eat lentils and black beans all the time, brother. Whew.
Well, this is what you can do. This all right. There's some. You don't have to do this, but I make my own tortilla shells, which is really easy. But you don't have to. You can put the beans, the lentils, and some brown rice. You could put that with some salsa, with this sour cream, this cashew cream dip. You put that, wrap that up into a burrito, and maybe put some. You don't have to get this because it is a little pricey, but you can also wrap that up with some So Delicious vegan non-dairy cheese, and you put that. You bake that, or rather you fry that on both sides so that it melts. That's good eating, man. You wouldn't even realize that there's no meat in there. And if you have to have the texture of meat, if it's just you miss that, and it's a real thing, I'll admit I took some getting used to myself, then you can get some seitan. Again, it takes some. There are a lot of things here on YouTube that you can get really good at making seitan. It's not that difficult.
Have you got any suggestions of any good vegan diet or vegan recipe books or anything?
Happy Healthy Vegan, they have a really one, especially if they call it Keep It Carbed Baby. I don't know how. I like their channel. Mick the Vegan. Someone is mentioning Mick the Vegan. His channel exploded over the past year. He's one of the biggest YouTube channels for vegans. He's probably got. But there's a lot of things that you can just do a simple search and you can find a lot of vegan recipes. There's a Happy Healthy, yeah. But as far as a book, Happy Healthy Vegan, he's got a really good one. He does a really good job of breaking down anti-vegan type stuff. Like there's that one doctor, this guy, he's on an all meat diet, and no vegetables, nothing, all meat. And he actually had the decency to post his blood work. And it showed that even though he's only I think he's 40 or 42 years old, he has the testosterone level of a man like 90. I mean, it is off the chart. It'd be bad. And so,
that's weird.
Yeah, Happy Healthy Vegan, he is 10 years older. And yet his testosterone level as a 6-year vegan is well below what well above what you would expect a 50-year-old man to have.
Well, that's really odd because from what I understand, it's the meat that keeps your testosterone level up.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, absolutely not.
Huh.
No. It used to be that people were saying that the cholesterol from eggs would help testosterone, and that's just not true.
Huh.
No. Vegans.
Well, while we're still off air, I wanted to tell you real quick.
Oh, no, we're on air, tough guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I picked up a bass guitar, an Epiphone EBO short scale bass, an Ampeg head, and an Ampeg cabinet today. So Q's going to start learning to play the bass. Anyway,
hey,
so,
that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, can I get to my question that I called in about?
I thought yeah, of course
Okay.
Of course.
All right. Well, my question was this. A couple weeks ago, you mentioned, it's the first time I've ever heard you mention it, about the LIBOR or the laser or photo ticket. And Dad just got one going through Ohio. He was passing somebody, and they gave him the ticket. They mailed him the ticket, and it said on there that if he pays it, there's no points. And even though it was 20 miles an hour over, which is usually reckless driving or whatever, no court date, just pay the ticket, no points on his driver's license, and everything's good to go. Well, you mentioned something about having 100% success with that in Arizona, and I asked you, what the process was. You said it was the same as usual. Why is it working 100% of the time there, but not working with our other ticket cases? So what's up with that?
Well, in Arizona, for example, they have to actually serve the guy who's driving. And you can't always tell who is driving, so they instead will try to get it on the owner, the registered owner. Well, that doesn't wash. And so
that's what I thought. Okay.
It's the same in California. So that really helps. So you're calling them out on, look, you have no beef with me, is what you're still showing that there's no evidence of jurisdiction and there's no subject matter jurisdiction. There's no case. Prove
right.
that this.
It kind of reminds me of when Scarlett got a ticket for parking, and they told her when she had a meeting with the prosecutor, and he was telling her the car got the ticket, and she, I remember that recording really well. It didn't have anything to do with her. The car got the ticket. So, yeah. Anyway.
So they actually.
Well, that explains it.
So they actually brought an in rem proceeding against Scarlett's car.
Yeah, I remember. This has been a few years ago now. I haven't heard from her in a long time, but I remember one of those tickets was a parking ticket, and I remember clearly the conversation that she was recording with her and the prosecutor, and he was just telling her straight out the car got the ticket. She isn't even involved, but because she owns it and it's registered to her, she has to pay the ticket. It was an absolutely ludicrous argument this guy was making.
Sure. I'd be really interested to see the court documents, because you can go in and you can look up in rem cases, and most of them tend, the one that I've seen anyway, tended to be federal cases. And so they have, the caption actually says the United States versus a 1974 Cadillac. That's the actual caption.
Huh.
And I'd be interested to see if the court actually captioned it that way.
Right. Yeah, I haven't heard from her in so long. She may be in some of the other chats, but I don't know. Last time I heard from her, she had a warrant out for her. I don't know if she ever resolved that. And she had a daughter and a son that were fighting this. That was one heck of a family crew there. I got to hand her a lot of credit.
Was she the one?
I
think, if I remember right, that I did the seminar in Utah with her family.
Oh. Yeah, it'd be nice to hear from her again.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm sure you got other callers, so thanks for your time, Mark.
Well, yeah. Hey, it's good talk with you again. And if somebody has heard from Scarlett, let us know what's going on. Or Scarlett's listening, give us an update. But all right, Tom, I appreciate the call. And hey, and enjoy.
Yep,
you going to do any playing today?
Yeah, I'm going to be setting it up here in just a little bit.
Somebody was saying that I should put me in to do some licks on the guitar. Actually, when I first started, there was this buzzing, and I'm like, what the hell? Because I was playing right before the show. I'm like, what the hell is that? I had unplugged my guitar. And so The amp was still buzzing. So maybe I'll.
Speaking of that guitar,
yeah,
I have that same model now, the Prophecy.
Oh,
and,
really?
I don't like it that much, man. The neck, not just the thinness of the neck, but they actually the fretboard is a little bit narrower as well. It's very even that slight difference in it. You know, it's hard to get your fingers in there. You know what I'm saying?
I don't.
Anyway,
yeah, I mean,
oh yeah, that fretboard is specially designed to be a little narrower and actually definitely thinner. You notice that between a normal Les Paul and that big time.
I didn't, but it didn't make much of a difference. I do still prefer this to the PR, and the PRS is a little heavier in the neck. Okay,
right.
I like this guitar. This is not mine, but I get to play it. It is, again, like you're saying, it is more. It's heavier neck than what I just showed.
It's wider. It's just slightly wider.
Yeah. There's no doubt that this is an awesome guitar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do like my I like the Les Paul better. I will say this, and I don't want to offend anybody. When I was jamming regularly with somebody out here, he had a Corona built Telecaster. Wow. I really miss jamming with that guy, especially since I don't get to play the Telecaster anymore. One of the finest guitars I've ever played, too.
Huh.
Well,
I'm not much of a Telecaster fan myself.
Oh, I got to cut you off the show. Really? You don't like Telecaster? What is it about?
No, I don't know. Usually the twangy pickups, I'm just not a real Telecaster fan.
But the neck.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, I like the Gibson. I like the flat Gibson neck myself. That's my preferred neck.
Yeah, my favorite is a Les Paul, but second close is of course the Telecaster, because the SG, I love the SG, and I've had an SG, but the neck isn't quite as nice as the Les Paul, but it's close. It's good. It's good. So,
all right, Mark.
We'll have to have just an all music show where we just talk about guitars.
No doubt.
Right, we'll have
a lot of musicians in these groups, that's for sure.
That's always good to see. It's always good to see. Well, we'll have to schedule
They're free thinkers. Musicians are free thinkers, man.
Well, they tend to be. Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true.
All right. You have a good day, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. We are going to, I don't know, are we on the... Yeah, we're still live. Obviously, we're still live on the LRN stream. I'm just going through the commercials there. Are there any court strategies discussed, or is it just guitars and vegan talk? We talked a lot about court today, as we do on every show. If you have a particular question or comment regarding court, I'm happy to field that question here on the show live. I'm going to try to get... do we got Kerry now?
Remember I told you about 2-3 weeks ago I thought it was the sun?
All right, Kerry. Maybe Kerry's just maybe calling in to listen, but am I wondering if I should listen to the whole thing? Well, look, the show, we're talking about principles and the principles that govern and drive what we're doing, the principles that why being a skeptic. So I think that the show had, yes, I think it's very helpful. You want to understand the underlying principles of why we're skeptic and why it's important to do that. And knowing those principles, Emily, and everybody else, is how we go about getting these tickets thrown out. Because we want logical consistency. So whether it's in or out of court, we want to hone our BS meter. We want to know how to determine somebody is talking nonsense or whether what they're saying is true. And it goes back to the principle. Why are we here? Why are we fighting this? Why are you, if you get a ticket, why are you defending against it instead of just pleading guilty? And so the principles are what are important here. And these underlying principles are the burden of proof is on the one making the claim. And we have to remember that when we go into court, or even when you're out of court, if you're talking with the prosecutor or you're just talking to somebody, in person, and you're having a discussion, you're having a legitimate argument, not contention, but you're having an argument. So the principle that the burden of proof is on the one making the claim is extremely important. And if you take your eye off of that, you're going to have people take advantage of you and they're going to run over you. So that is a very important principle. Asking leading questions. This is very important when we're in or out of court. I cannot underestimate the value of asking leading questions. And so the basis that we're using to in being a skeptic and determining whether somebody is full of crap or not is going to be by assuming that what they're saying is false until the evidence is produced. Now, that is a valuable principle going into court or any situation where there's an issue to be solved. More so in court because it could change the course of your life. An adequate defense has to start with logic and reason and keeping the burden of proof on the accuser where it belongs. Very, very important. Somebody wants to say, look, like I covered with John earlier. If the judge wants to make a claim, you have to assume it's BS because more than likely it is. So in John's example that we were using, the judge is saying the prosecution doesn't have to prove jurisdiction with evidence. You can't accept something like that as true. You cannot if you're going to effectively defend yourself. So that's why I talk about the three basic tenets of this. We are going to hold the prosecution to their burden of proof. None of the prosecutor's claims are immune from attack or collateral attack. We are not going to extend the prosecution any sacred cows. If anyone tells you, well, the prosecution said XYZ and you have to accept that, they are not interested in effectively defending yourself. And anyone who says that you should give the prosecution a free pass, I don't know what I don't know what a rational argument for that is. You cannot give the prosecution a free pass. No sacred cows. No sacred cows. And that the point number 3 follows on that. You have to collaterally attack the foundation of the prosecution's claims against you. And I've said this on the show 100 times, just in the last few weeks. Their claim twofold. I saw you in Arizona. The laws apply and give me jurisdiction, and I had probable cause that you violated those, all right? The laws apply and give me jurisdiction, and you violated the laws. So you have to attack those. That is the foundation of their claims. That is the priority. Because I know I apologize to people like Eyal, but we have new people listening to the show. Relevance is king. Any half-idiot who knows anything about the law will tell you, when you go to court, relevance rules. Nothing is admissible if it's not relevant. End of discussion. And that's why we are going to focus on the prosecution's foundation. Because, again, it's twofold. The second part doesn't mean a damn thing and is not relevant if you can't show evidence for part 1. That's the way logic works. So if you're talking to someone outside of court, you're not necessarily going to object on relevance, but you're going to point out, how is that relevant to proving this? So that's a very important objection. And I do always have to point out, objection is a very, very low threshold, just like prima facie. If it has any tendency to prove the proposition, it's relevant. It may not ultimately prove the proposition, but that is for later when you're at trial and you're trusting it and you do cross-examination and okay? But getting it first admitted and being able to discuss it, very low threshold. So that's why, again, we're skeptics, we're using reason, we're using critical analysis. Is it relevant to discuss that I don't have a driver's license if they haven't proven I'm required to get one in the first place? If they can't prove I'm required to have it in the first place with evidence, it's not relevant that I don't have one. So the police officer testifying on the stand, Mark doesn't have a driver's license, not admissible. Why? Because they haven't built the foundation first. They haven't shown the relevance of the statement. It's like building a house. It's like my cousin Vinny, building a case is like building a house. You got to have the foundation, you got to have the walls, and you put the roof. If they can't show relevance for the statements, the testimony, it's not admissible. So the prosecutor would have to show where it's relevant. This is where it's very important. If he hasn't shown, this is something you probably have to bring in court, because the prosecution has not shown that the laws apply in the first place, there's no evidence, no testimony, zip, nothing. The police may not testify to that at this time. Let them first testify to part 1. That's why in real criminal trials, there is a foundation built. Manafort is going to go, he's been convicted on 8 of the 18 charges. They're going to bring him to trial on other charges. And there's going to be over 2,000 documents that are presented because they're going to build a foundation first to show the relevance for what comes after it. So I hope that for those who didn't know that, they understand it better, and you're always welcome to call into the Wednesday broadcast or next week, and we can discuss the issue more because it is that important. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project for August 25th, 2018, brought to you by Dan and Bill in New Hampshire. Till next time, salut.